Welcome to the show. We are absolutely thrilled to have you with us today.
Yeah, really excited for this one.
Because if you are, the kind of person who constantly finds themselves analyzing human behavior,
Right.
or who obsesses over the tiny, unspoken details of a conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Or even if you're just trying to figure out how to navigate your own high-stakes meetings without completely losing your cool, you have definitely come to the perfect place today.
For sure.
Because today, we are taking you on a really highly analytical, kind of pop culture-obsessed journey. We're going to be decoding the unspoken rules, the nonverbal cues, and the intense psychological profiling found in episodes 3 and 4 of the Korean music reality show, Famous Singers Need a Hit Song.
And right at the top, we really should explicitly state,
Oh, yeah.
this is a spoiler-free deep dive.
Completely spoiler-free.
Right. That is an important distinction to make. We are absolutely not concerning ourselves today with the final performances or the judges' scorecards or, who ultimately takes home the grand prize at the end of the season.
No, not at all.
We are looking purely at what we can call the first date phase.
The first date. I love that term for this.
It really is. It's that crucial, fascinating, and, let's be honest, incredibly awkward period right after the initial draft, where the rookie artists meet their legendary producers for the very first time.
Yeah, because for those following along, the draft is kind of the mechanical part of the industry.
Exactly.
It's the sorting phase, right? The technical evaluation where voices are just categorized and picked based on raw potential.
It's just data.
It's just data. But the first date, that is where the actual human connection has to happen. And our text for today's exploration comes from a really brilliant written analysis called The Architecture of a Hit, Decoding Producer-Artist Chemistry.
And the premise of this analysis, it completely reframes how we look at the music industry.
It really does. Because when you typically picture a music producer meeting a singer for the first time, the image that comes to mind is usually very clinical.
Right, like a studio setting.
Yeah, you picture them sitting behind a massive, intimidating mixing desk, adjusting sliders, and talking entirely in technical jargon.
Vocal ranges, beats per minute.
Chord progressions, music theory, all of that.
Huh.
But what we see in these specific episodes reveals that these initial meetings are, well, they're rarely about music theory at all.
No, not at all. They are deep sociological and psychological studies.
Yes.
These legendary producers are essentially acting as behavioral profilers. They are deliberately setting up highly specific environments and social situations to unlock the rookie artists' true selves.
And it's a phenomenal strategy when you really break down the mechanics of it.
It is, because a producer's primary job in this specific phase isn't to write a catchy melody, it's to read the room. And more importantly, to read the person sitting across from them. They need to understand the human being behind the voice before they can even begin to craft a piece of music that will actually resonate with the general public.
They're mining for personality.
Exactly. They are mining for the raw material of personality. They're looking for the vulnerabilities, the defenses, the authentic quirks that make an artist who they really are when the stage lights finally turn off and the cameras go away.
So I want you listening to this right now to just think about your own life for a second. Think about your own professional first dates or those incredibly high-stakes meetings you have had to navigate.
We've all had them.
We really have. It could have been a massive job interview, a pitch to a major client that could make or break your quarter, or even something personal, like meeting your partner's family for the first time.
Oh, the stress.
Right. How much of your success in those specific moments genuinely came down to the actual words you said versus the unspoken subtext of your initial handshake?
That's a great question.
How much of the dynamic depended entirely on the room you chose to meet in or the specific way you attempted to break the ice? I mean, I know for a fact I once blew a major pitch simply because the client sat me on this bizarrely low, plush sofa.
Oh, no.
Yeah, while they sat in a high-backed ergonomic chair. The physical disparity completely derailed my confidence before I even opened my mouth.
That is a perfect example of spatial proxemics dictating a power dynamic, and it happens constantly without us even realizing it.
It really does.
We are going to be looking at exactly those kinds of mechanics today, courtesy of Korean reality television. And this specific medium is the perfect vehicle for this kind of analysis because the cultural context adds incredibly dense layers of meaning to every single gesture.
Absolutely. We are going to be thoroughly examining concepts like the Sunbae-Hoobae dynamic.
Which is the deeply ingrained senior-junior respect system that governs almost all professional interactions in Korean culture.
Exactly. We're going to analyze spatial metaphors, the psychology of physical distance, and even the strategic use of interior decorating as a psychological stress test.
It gets wild.
It does. So let's get right into the first major theme we're exploring today, the cultural grammar of first impressions. I like to think of this section as the feast versus the lecture.
I like that title.
We're going to look closely at two diametrically opposed producer-artist meetings. On one hand, we have the pairing of the rookie Kim Jae-min and his producer, Kar the Garden.
Right.
And on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, we have the rookie Curie meeting, the absolute legend, Yoon Jong-shin.
These two particular meetings offer a perfect sociological study in contrasts. They really demonstrate how two vastly experienced producers utilize entirely different environments and social strategies to establish a working dynamic with their artists.
Totally. So let's examine the first meeting with the rookie singer, Kim Jae-min.
Okay.
The producer, Kar the Garden, sets the scene in Hongdae. Now, for anyone familiar with Seoul, you know Hongdae carries very specific cultural weight.
It definitely does. It is the vibrant epicenter of indie music, youth culture, and artistic rebellion. It has an inherent coolness to it.
Right. Hongdae is not a place you go to wear a suit and tie. It's the creative pulse of the city.
Exactly.
So Kim Jae-min walks into this incredibly stylish, effortlessly cool studio in the heart of Hongdae. And he is, to put it mildly, completely terrified.
He's a nervous wreck.
A total wreck. The analysis describes his non-verbal reactions so vividly. He walks through the door, locks eyes with Kar the Garden, and his body just betrays him.
It's such a visceral reaction.
It is. He throws his head back in this massive, explosive, open-mouthed laugh, and then immediately, almost violently, slaps his hand over his mouth to cover it.
Yes.
And while he is executing this physical contradiction, he is also attempting this frantic, shaky, almost vibrating handshake.
If you pause and analyze that sequence of movements, it is a textbook display of a sympathetic nervous system in overdrive colliding with deep cultural conditioning.
Like so.
Well, consider the mouth cover reflex for a moment. In Korean culture, covering the mouth when laughing, smiling widely, or expressing any strong emotion is a traditional sign of modesty, politeness, and deference.
Right.
It is a way of muting oneself in the presence of others. But in this specific high-stress context, it signifies an overwhelming, almost paralyzing sense of shock and joy.
So his body is physically fighting itself.
Exactly. The explosive laugh is his genuine, raw, human reaction to suddenly being in the presence of a famous producer he reveres. The immediate, forceful hand over the mouth is his cultural conditioning slamming the brakes.
Like weaving at him to reel it in.
Yes, screaming at him to show respect and remember his place in the hierarchy.
It is incredibly relatable. I mean, he desperately wants to project the image of a cool, collected indie artist who belongs in a Hongdae studio, but he is just vibrating with nervous fanboy energy.
We've all been there.
We have. Now, look at how the producer handles this. As the established senior in the industry, Kar the Garden's posture is the complete antithesis of Kim Jae-min's frantic energy.
He doesn't mirror the chaos at all.
Not at all. He remained entirely relaxed. He delivers a very firm, steady handshake, places a reassuring hand directly on Kim Jae-min's shoulder, and flashes this very subtle, knowing smirk.
That specific physical interaction is a calculated transfer of power.
How do you mean?
Well, the firm handshake and the hand on the shoulder are literal physical methods of grounding a panicking junior artist. When someone is vibrating with anxiety, a steady point of physical contact can actually help regulate their breathing and heart rate.
Wow.
Kar the Garden is using touch to transmit a clear message of stability. And that smirk you mentioned is critical.
Right, the smirk.
It isn't mocking and it isn't condescending. It is empathetic. It communicates, I see exactly how terrified you are. I remember being exactly where you are sitting, and I have control of this situation.
That's so powerful.
It is. This is a prime example of the Sunbae-Hoobae dynamic functioning as a tool for psychological management rather than just a rigid set of polite rules. The Sunbae inherently holds all the power in the room by virtue of their seniority.
which means they bear the absolute responsibility for setting the emotional temperature of the space.
Exactly.
And the way Car the Garden chooses to set that temperature is fascinating.
Yeah.
He uses the ultimate universal disarming tool. Food. He doesn't sit Kim Jae-min down at a mixing desk with a notepad, a pen, and a list of vocal exercises.
Yeah.
He sits him down in front of a massive, elaborate feast.
It's brilliant.
And while they are eating, Car the Garden starts lightly teasing him. He teases him about his weight. He brings up some old, slightly embarrassing videos Kim Jae-min posted online in the past.
The cringy old videos.
Yeah. When I first read that, my immediate thought was, isn't that incredibly risky? Teasing a terrified rookie could easily backfire and make them completely close off.
It is absolutely a calculated risk, but it reveals the depth of Car the Garden's psychological read on the artist. Offering food is a foundational method of plopping a tension balloon. In Korean culture, the act of sharing a meal is deeply tied to intimacy, familial bonds, and taking care of one's own. By providing this massive spread, Car the Garden is communicating non-verbally that he is adopting Kim Jae-min into his circle.
But the teasing.
The teasing is the actual psychological lever being pulled. By bringing up the cringy videos and making lighthearted personal jabs, Car the Garden is intentionally aggressively stripping away the formal, rigid boundaries of a traditional professional environment.
He's rejecting the corporate mentor role.
Yes, he is deliberately adopting the persona of the cool older brother.
It instantly deflates the pedestal Kim Jae-min put him on.
Yeah.
It allows the rookie to drop that terrified, hyper-respectful facade, stop worrying about his posture, and just be a guy hanging out, eating good food, and laughing at his own past mistakes.
It creates a psychological safe space for him to actually be authentic.
Now, I want you to hold on to that cool older brother dynamic because the contrast with our next meeting is going to give you whiplash.
Total whiplash.
We are moving from the feasts in Hongdae to the most austere environment imaginable. We have to look at the meeting between the rookie Curie and the legendary producer Yoon Jong-shin.
The environmental shift is jarring.
It really is.
Curie does not arrive at a trendy, dimly lit studio in a cool neighborhood. She is instructed to meet Yoon Jong-shin in a brightly lit, totally sterile university lecture hall.
No spread of food waiting for her here.
No hip, casual vibe.
Yeah.
The room itself is the architectural embodiment of formal education, intense scrutiny, and serious academic study.
And because of that environment, when Curie walks through the door, her nonverbal cues are entirely different from the chaotic energy we saw with Kim Jae-min.
Completely different.
There is zero explosive laughter here. Curie walks in, executes a perfectly deep, highly formal 90-degree bow, and initiates an incredibly formal, respectful, two-handed handshake.
Textbook professionalism.
Her posture throughout this entire initial greeting is rigid with professionalism. She immediately sits down at the student desk, leans forward, places a notebook in front of her, and literally has her pen in hand, hovering over the paper.
She looks exactly like a straight-A student bracing herself for the most difficult final exam of her academic career.
Yes.
Her posture is a direct, conditioned response to the specific energy that Yoon Jong-shin is projecting into the room.
Oh, so.
Well, while she's leaning forward, completely alert and ready to receive instruction, he is sitting back. His arms are crossed in this state of deep, professorial contemplation.
Yeah.
He is physically occupying the space, not as a collaborator, but as a seasoned academic evaluating a pupil. Furthermore, the analysis highlights a critical verbal cue that cements this dynamic immediately.
Oh, right. Curie addresses him directly as Seon-sendem.
Exactly.
For our listeners who might not be intimately familiar with Korean honorifics, we need to explore the specific weight of the word Seon-sendem in this context. It's not just Mr. Yoon, is it?
Not at all. Seon-sendem translates literally to teacher or master. Within the Korean social and professional hierarchy, it is a term of profound, almost reverent respect.
It's heavy.
It is. It is typically reserved for someone who is not merely a senior colleague with a few more years of experience, but a true elder statesman of their craft. It implies that the person possesses deep, hard-won wisdom that they might deign to impart to you.
So by willingly accepting that specific title and orchestrating the meeting inside a literal lecture hall,
Yoon Jong-shin is intentionally framing the entire architecture of their relationship from the very first second. He has zero interest in being her cool older brother.
no,
He is establishing a master-student or professor-pupil dynamic.
he is setting a boundary.
Yeah.
He wants her to view this upcoming album creation process not as a fun, loose jam session, but as an intense period of rigorous learning and discipline. So looking at these two approaches side by side, we have the cool older brother offering a feast, and we have the master professor holding court in a sterile lecture hall. It begs the question, which approach is actually the right way to manage talent?
The brilliant reality of this industry is that both approaches are completely right.
Really?
Yes, and both are highly effective when applied to the correct psychological profile. Both producers are actively leveraging the Sunbae-Hoobae dynamic, but they are tailoring their execution precisely to what they believe their specific artist requires to succeed.
That makes a lot of sense.
Garden likely observed Kim Jae-min and accurately sensed that his sheer anxiety would paralyze his creativity, so he deployed food and self-deprecating humor to disarm him.
Right.
Yoon Jong-shin, conversely, was dealing with Q-ri, whom he likely recognized as a fiercely dedicated, highly disciplined artist who naturally thrives within structure and clear expectation.
So he provided a formal academic framework to channel her intense focus.
It is bespoke psychological management.
It completely changes how you think about preparing for a meeting. We spend so much time thinking about what we're going to say, but the environment you choose and the persona you project when someone walks through the door does half the heavy lifting before a single word of substance is spoken.
Absolutely.
Are you trying to disarm someone's anxiety? Or are you trying to sharpen their focus? And speaking of sharpening focus, that brings us perfectly to the actual content of Yoon Jong-shin's meeting. Because he doesn't just sit in a lecture hall to look intimidating.
No, he doesn't.
He actually teaches a class. I want to call this next area of our discussion the philosophy of the hit and the secret ingredient.
This is where Yoon Jong-shin's professorial framing truly pays off. He leans fully into the academic aesthetic by providing Q-ri with a literal slide deck presentation.
I cannot get over this
It
detail.
looks so good.
Imagine the scenario. You have fought tooth and nail through a brutal industry draft to finally secure a meeting with a legendary producer who holds your entire career in his hands. You walk into the room, heart pounding, and he pulls down a projector screen and boots up PowerPoint.
It is simultaneously hilarious and incredibly intimidating.
It really is. And the title of his presentation is aggressively straightforward. It just says, "What is a hit song?"
It is a remarkably clinical approach to a subject, music, and art that is universally considered highly subjective, emotional, and ethereal.
Yeah.
But he uses the slide deck not just to lecture, but to engage Q-ri in a philosophical interrogation. He advances the slide, stops, looks at her, and asks her point blank what she believes the core foundational ingredient of a hit song actually is.
Ri, perfectly embodying her role as the diligent student trying to secure an A+, attempts to give the answer she assumes an industry titan wants to hear. She guesses the word day back. Now, for context, day back is a very common Korean term that essentially translates to a massive jackpot, a huge win, or an explosive success. In the context of her answer, it implies she believes there is some sort of hidden formula.
Right.
It's like a secret industry sauce that, if applied correctly, guarantees a massive commercial win.
And honestly, if you look at the landscape of the modern music industry, that is a highly logical, highly rational guess.
Absolutely.
We exist in an era utterly dominated by data analytics, algorithm optimization, TikTok trend forecasting, and highly engineered pop structures.
Yep.
It was incredibly easy and almost expected to assume that a master producer operating at Yoon Jong-shin's level possesses a closely guarded secret formula, a specific optimal BPM, a certain scientifically proven chord progression, or a mathematical equation for hacking the streaming charts.
But Yoon Jong-shin immediately, and rather bluntly, shuts that entire line of thinking down. He completely rejects the concept of a manufactured, engineered formula.
He really does.
He tells her she is wrong, and then he clicks to the next slide to reveal the actual correct answer. According to this legendary producer, the core, essential ingredient of a hit song is the Korean word ka, which translates simply to luck.
Pure luck.
Pure, uncontrollable, unadulterated luck. I find this deeply fascinating because it flies in the face of the entire modern narrative of grinding, optimizing, and hacking your way to success.
It is a profound, almost humbling lesson for a young artist to hear. And he doesn't just present it as a hollow philosophical concept. He anchors it with a vivid, irrefutable anecdote from his own storied career.
The Jong-mi story.
Yes. He specifically brings up his own mega hit song, a track called Jong-mi. By every conventional industry metric and data point, Jong-mi was a failure upon its initial release. He explained to Q-ri that the song did not even dent the charts for the first 2 months after it dropped.
Which is wild. We all know that in the modern music industry, 2 months is an absolute eternity. The consumption cycle is so fast.
So fast.
If a song doesn't generate immediate traction in its first week, the label pulls the marketing budget, the algorithm buries it, and everyone moves on to the next project. It is considered completely dead.
Precisely. The data said the song was over. But then, the uncontrollable variable of luck intervened.
Right.
He tells Curie that Jongni only became a massive, career-defining hit because of a completely random, localized event. A group of heavily intoxicated men in a rural pub were screaming the lyrics to the song.
Just belting it out.
Someone happened to pull out their smartphone, film the chaotic scene, uploaded it, and that specific raw video went completely viral.
That has to be one of the greatest origin stories for a hit song I've ever come across.
It's amazing.
It wasn't a multi-million-dollar marketing campaign. It wasn't a strategic dance challenge initiated by an expensive PR firm in a boardroom. It was just drunk guys in a pub screaming their lungs out because the song made them feel something.
Exactly.
But why does Yoon Jong-shin choose this specific, slightly chaotic story to teach Curie about the nature of a hit? What is the pedagogical purpose?
It serves a very specific purpose regarding the intersection of art and commerce. He uses this story to illustrate that you fundamentally cannot manufacture a hit in a vacuum.
Right.
Because a hit inherently requires an uncontrollable external variable, the general public. A true hit song only occurs when the masses abruptly, collectively, and organically decide that a specific piece of music perfectly articulates what they are feeling in their own lives at that exact moment in time.
That lightning in a bottle moment.
Yes. You can write the most mathematically perfect melody, you can hire the most expensive mixing engineers, but you cannot force a drunk man in a rural pub to feel your song in his soul.
You just can't.
That profound, spontaneous human connection is the luck. Yoon Jong-shin is using this anecdote to warn her. Anyone in this industry who promises you a guaranteed formula for success is a charlatan.
It is such a liberating concept when you really internalize it.
It really is.
If you apply this to your own life, to you, the listener, trying to navigate your career in this era of SEO optimization, personal branding, and algorithmic anxiety, it is a powerful reminder that genuine human connection remains the ultimate uncontrollable variable.
Well said.
You can polish your resume until it shines, you can rehearse your pitch deck perfectly, but at the end of the day, success so often hinges on whether your authentic self happens to resonate with the specific human being sitting across the table from you on a Tuesday morning. You cannot hack relatability.
That is an excellent synthesis. You cannot hack relatability. The only thing you have control over is preparing the ground, being as authentic as possible, and hoping the lightning happens to strike where you are standing.
Exactly.
And to properly prepare that ground, a producer must ensure the artist isn't hiding behind a manufactured persona. They need to find out who the artist actually is.
Which provides a seamless transition into our third area of discussion.
It does.
We have seen the feast used to disarm, and we have seen the lecture hall used to focus. Now, we are going to examine a producer who takes the pursuit of authenticity to a completely invasive, almost shocking extreme.
Oh, this one is intense?
This might be my favorite dynamic of the entire analysis. Let's call this section Invading the Sanctuary and the Concept of Gasimbi.
Perfect.
We are going to break down the incredibly tense, borderline uncomfortable ambush meeting between the rookie artist Sado and his producer, Zion.T.
Ambush is truly the only accurate descriptor for this scenario.
Right.
Consider the setting. Sado is not summoned to a professional studio. He is not asked to meet at a university or a cafe. He is simply at home in his own apartment.
Just minding his own business.
Exactly. The analysis describes the space as cluttered, artsy, and deeply personal. He is entirely off the clock. The stage makeup is off, the persona is put away, and he is just a normal guy existing in his private life. And then, completely without warning or prior scheduling, his doorbell rings. He opens the door, and standing there in his hallway is the legendary producer, Zion.T.
For anyone who values their privacy and needs an hour of mental preparation just to answer a phone call, this is the ultimate nightmare scenario.
A total nightmare.
The text highlights how the camera work brilliantly captures the claustrophobia of this social intrusion. The two of them are suddenly crammed together in this tiny, awkward apartment doorway. The nonverbal cues in this moment are absolutely off the charts.
Sado is thrust into pure, unfiltered panic.
Pure panic. He literally covers his face with both hands. He is physically trying to hide from the situation. He is profoundly uncomfortable having his personal sanctuary breached by a massive celebrity whose approval he definitely needs.
It is a massive violation of the standard professional boundary, and while Sato is visibly melting down in the doorway, Zion.T's nonverbal cues are the exact opposite.
He's just standing there.
He remains entirely cool, completely silent, highly observant, and crucially, his eyes are completely hidden behind a pair of dark sunglasses.
Oh, the sunglasses.
In this specific power dynamic, those sunglasses function as a one-way mirror in an interrogation room.
That's a great way to put it.
Zion.T can scrutinize every single detail of Sato's panic and sweep his eyes across the messy apartment, but Sato cannot read Zion.T's eyes, cannot gauge his reaction, and cannot determine his intentions.
It creates a massive, intentional power imbalance designed specifically to facilitate psychological profiling.
Precisely.
But the question is, why execute such an aggressive maneuver? Why violate that boundary? Why not just ask him to meet for coffee and have a normal conversation about his influences?
Because Zion.T understands a fundamental truth about performers, there is almost always a massive, deliberate gap between who an artist is on stage and who they are in reality.
The persona versus the person.
Exactly. Sato, as a performer, is known for possessing a wildly charismatic, powerful, almost arrogant stage persona. But Zion.T knows that a stage persona is ultimately a mask constructed for protection and projection.
And you can't write a hit for a mask.
You cannot write a deeply resonant generational hit song for a mask. You have to write it for the flawed human being wearing it. Zion.T executed this ambush specifically to measure the width of that gap.
He needed to see it for himself.
He needed to witness who Sato is when the stage lights are dead, when he is caught completely off guard, and when he doesn't have time to construct an image.
He wanted to bypass the PR training and see the real guy. And he certainly gets a glimpse of the real guy, thanks to a hilarious and deeply revealing detail regarding the interior design of Sato's apartment.
This is the best part.
Once they finally navigate past the agonizing awkwardness of the doorway, Zion.T steps inside and starts silently evaluating the environment. He immediately notices this beautiful vintage-looking rug and an incredibly stylish sofa. At first glance, it looks like the highly curated, expensive apartment of a successful, wealthy artist.
Yeah.
But the tension breaks when Sato bashfully confesses a secret about his seemingly luxurious furniture.
Yes, the analysis highlights this fantastic moment of vulnerability. Sato admits to this legendary producer that the gorgeous vintage-looking rug and the highly stylish sofa are not rare antiques acquired at an auction.
Nope.
They are cheap knockoffs purchased from the discount shipping app AliExpress.
I genuinely laughed out loud when I read that detail. It is so painfully relatable. We've all tried to make our space look a little more sophisticated than our bank accounts actually allow.
It is deeply relatable, and more importantly, it introduces a vital sociological concept that the analysis centers on Gasimbi.
Gasimbi.
Yes. Gasimbi is a very prevalent Korean term that essentially translates to cost effectiveness, or the pursuit of getting the absolute most bang for your buck. In modern Korean culture, particularly among younger generations facing economic pressures, Gasimbi is almost a lifestyle philosophy. It is the art of maximizing aesthetic pleasure, function, or perceived value, while aggressively minimizing financial expenditure.
It's the hustle of looking like $1 million while only spending $35 and waiting 3 weeks for international shipping.
Exactly. Now, you might logically assume that a legendary producer like Zion.T, someone who operates in the absolute highest echelons of the music industry and likely owns genuinely expensive furniture, would be turned off by this revelation.
Yeah, you might think he would view the cheap furniture as tacky or fake.
But the exact opposite reaction occurs. This somewhat embarrassing revelation deeply endears Sato to the producer. It proves to Zion.T that Sato is the absolute king of Gasimbi.
We need to analyze why that specific trait matters in the context of creating music. Why does being a bargain-hunting Gasimbi king make you a more appealing artist to a high-level producer?
Because it reveals a complex and highly desirable core character. The apartment setup shows that Sato cares deeply about aesthetics, about establishing a specific mood, and about meticulously creating his own beautiful, artistic sanctuary.
He possesses the soul and the eye of a designer.
But fundamentally, the confession reveals he is completely unpretentious. He isn't crippled by the need to project false wealth or status to a superior.
Right.
He is resourceful, he is grounded in his actual economic reality, and he is honest enough to admit his frugality to a massive celebrity. That combination of high artistic taste and grounded humility is pure, unadulterated authenticity.
It's the real him, stripped of the staged bravado. And if we connect this back to Yoon Jong-shin's PowerPoint lecture on the necessity of luck, you absolutely require that raw authenticity if you ever hope to catch that lightning strike.
Or completely.
The general public has an incredibly highly attuned radar for sniffing out a fake. They will rarely connect on a soul-deep level with a completely manufactured, perfectly polished persona.
But they will absolutely connect with the Gasimbi king who just wants to live in a beautiful space without bankrupting himself.
Precisely. The apartment ambush was a high-stakes stress test for authenticity, and Sato passed it with flying colors, simply by being his slightly embarrassed, budget-conscious self.
It is a masterful demonstration of how our private physical spaces betray our true nature to anyone paying close enough attention.
And this leads us perfectly into our fourth area of discussion. We have analyzed an apartment ambush, but now we need to expand our scope to look at two meetings that are defined almost entirely by their extreme geographical settings and spatial metaphors.
This is where the producers really start playing with the physical environment on a grand scale.
Let's explore the final two producer-artist pairings. Slowly, with her producer Shin-ae, and then Leo Oak with the rocker Kim Jong-won. We're going to separate these because they are so distinct, starting with the physical ordeal imposed on the rookie, Slowly.
Ordeal is an apt description. The physical demand placed on her is heavily symbolic and deliberately exhausting.
Set the scene for us.
So, Slowly is instructed to meet her producer, the highly respected Shin-ae. But she isn't given an address for a comfortable city studio or even a trendy cafe. She is directed to a serene Buddhist temple located high up on a remote mountain.
And she doesn't get to take a cable car.
No, she does not.
The analysis paints this incredibly vivid picture of Slowly literally lugging a heavy, bulky acoustic guitar case up a steep mountain trail. It is such a heavy-handed, yet absolutely perfect, visual metaphor for the reality of trying to make it in the music industry.
It really is.
It is a physically exhausting, profoundly lonely uphill climb, and you have to carry the heavy weight of your own art on your back the entire way.
It is a profound and punishing staging choice by Shin-ae. Consider the physiological state Slowly is in by the time she finally reaches the temple grounds.
She's got to be wiped out.
She is physically exerted, sweating, and out of breath. She has been forcefully removed from the ambient noise, the distractions, and the comforts of the city below. She is stepping into a space that is architecturally designed over centuries for quiet contemplation, ego death, and spiritual reverence.
And it is in this highly charged environment that she finally lays eyes on Shin-ae. Her nonverbal reaction in this moment is one of the most striking physiological responses we've discussed.
It is incredible to visualize.
She is so completely overwhelmed and starstruck by the sudden appearance of this legendary figure that her hands immediately fly to her mouth, her eyes go incredibly wide, and she literally, physically, begins stepping backward, away from the producer.
We need to dissect the psychology of that physical retreat because it is a fascinating unconscious behavioral mechanism.
Let's hear it.
When a human being encounters someone who holds a massive amount of perceived power, status, or what you might colloquially call aura, our bodies instinctively react to the scale of that presence.
Yeah.
Slowly's physical body is retreating out of a deep internalized sense of unworthiness. She fundamentally feels she does not belong in the immediate, intimate orbit of such a massive industry legend.
It's imposter syndrome made physical.
Exactly. It is an involuntary physical manifestation of acute imposter syndrome. She is attempting to shrink her physical footprint and increase the spatial distance to protect her own nervous system from the overwhelming energy of the master.
It's like she has accidentally walked too close to a glowing sun, and her body is trying to save her from catching fire.
That's a great analogy, but Shin-ae does not allow her to just back away and hide in her anxiety.
What does she do?
The text notes a brilliant, immediate grounding technique the producer utilizes. She doesn't ignore the awkwardness, she calls it out directly. She looks at her and asks, "Why do you keep moving away?"
Oh, wow. Just cuts right to it.
That direct, unvarnished verbal intervention is the key to the entire meeting. By verbally naming the elephant in the room, by explicitly pointing out the physical retreat, Shin-ae instantly shatters the terrifying illusion of the untouchable idol.
She forces Slowly out of her panicked internal monologue and snaps her back into the present shared reality.
Exactly. It is a highly effective technique to establish a pure, grounded, human-to-human energy. Think about the sequence of events.
Okay.
By making her climb the mountain, she stripped away the city's distractions and broke down her physical defenses. By directly calling out her fear, she strips away the intimidating, artificial hierarchy of the music industry.
So they are no longer a frightened rookie and a legendary producer.
No, they are simply two exhausted musicians standing in a quiet temple.
It is a beautiful, brutal way of stripping the artist down to their most essential, vulnerable state. Now, I want to pivot sharply and contrast the organic, natural, spiritual serenity of that mountain temple with our final meeting.
The complete opposite end of the spectrum.
We are going from an ancient Buddhist temple to a structure that sounds like a villain's secret lair in a spy movie. We need to analyze the meeting between the rookie Leo Uk and the legendary rock musician Kim Jong-won.
This meeting presents an entirely different flavor of intimidation and architectural psychology.
Set the scene for us.
The scene opens with Leo Uk arriving at an imposing, brutalist, entirely black container building. From the outside, it looks impenetrable, cold, and severe.
Intimidating.
Highly intimidating. But the inside reveals itself to be an incredibly high-end, elite, meticulously curated music studio, practically overflowing with vintage, wildly expensive guitars and recording equipment.
This is the personal domain of Kim Jong-won, who's a massive legend from the iconic Korean rock band NEL.
And Leo Uk's physical reaction to entering the space and seeing his idol is palpable. The moment he realizes who he's actually meeting, his entire body goes completely stiff.
His posture locks up as if he's standing at military attention.
Yes. He immediately lowers his gaze to the floor, which is a universal sign of nervous reverence and submission in many cultures, and he executes this incredibly deep, highly respectful bow.
The analysis mentions that the television show actually uses split-screen editing during this scene, and it perfectly captures Leo Uk staring in absolute, silent, unblinking awe every single time the master opens his mouth to speak.
He is basically vibrating with respect.
He is entirely overwhelmed by the environment and the man. The Black Container Studio serves as a psychological fortress. It projects immense power, technical mastery, and rock and roll exclusivity. Leo Uk feels like he has been granted rare access to the inner sanctum of the rock gods.
But here is where Kim Jong-won employs a brilliant psychological profiling technique of his own to manage the dynamic.
How does a producer bypass the paralyzing awkwardness of this intense idol worship?
You don't ask them about the weather. You speak the universal leveling language of musicians.
Gear.
You talk strictly about gear.
It is the ultimate icebreaker for musicians. They completely bypass the standard small talk and go straight to deep geek mode.
The text specifically details how they instantly bond over one very particular instrument sitting in the studio, a 1966 Fender Telecaster.
Oh, man.
And from there, they start bonding over their shared obsessive love for Radiohead's legendary album, OK Computer.
This conversational pivot is crucial for establishing a working relationship. By shifting the absolute focus away from themselves and onto a shared passion, vintage guitars and seminal classic albums, Kim Jong-won is actively inviting Leo Uk to step out of the restrictive role of the terrified junior fan and step into the role of a fellow aficionado.
Gear and musical influences serve as a safe, objective third space where they can connect on equal footing without the pressure of the Sunbae-Hoobae hierarchy weighing them down.
Right. Discussing a 66 Telecaster proves they share the same fundamental DNA, same artistic values, and the same sonic vocabulary.
It's a way of saying, we speak the same language, you are safe here. It completely changes the energy in the room from an interrogation into a hangout.
But it is what happens immediately after this bonding moment that really seals the deal. It is a moment of ultimate targeted validation.
Yes, the validation.
Kim Jong-won gives Leo Uk this highly specific, deeply technical compliment regarding his vocal style. He doesn't just say, "You sound great." He explicitly says he admires the duality in Leo Uk's voice.
That specific word choice, duality, is incredibly important here. The text breaks down exactly what Kim Jong-won means by this.
What did he mean?
He tells the rookie that he possesses a very straightforward, masculine, powerful rock tone, but that it is surprisingly mixed with this incredibly delicate, emotional, almost fragile upper register. He explicitly validates this by calling it a duality in a good sense.
Think about the psychological impact of that specific compliment on an aspiring, terrified artist. The producer isn't just throwing out a generic platitude.
Not at all.
He is looking this kid in the eye and saying, I have actively analyzed your instrument. I see the complex, contradictory layers of your talent, and I deeply respect it.
Exactly. This is the precise moment the entire power dynamic permanently shifts. It is the psychological turning point of their interaction.
Huge turning point.
With that one deeply insightful, highly technical compliment, Kim Jong-won elevates Leo up from a starstruck fan into a recognized, validated peer.
He's communicating, you aren't just a fan out in my studio, you belong in this black container with me.
By naming and praising his specific, unique strength, he gives the artist the necessary confidence required to actually collaborate on a song, rather than just nervously taking orders.
It's masterful.
Yeah.
It really is incredible to see how every single one of these producers, in their own completely unique and highly specific ways, is basically playing 4D psychological chess with these artists' minds.
They really are.
Which brings us perfectly to our final segment of the day. We are calling this the grand synthesis, manufacturing authenticity.
When we step back and look at the broader picture, taking all 5 of these wildly different producer-artist pairings together as a single data set, a very clear, overarching theme emerges from our analysis.
What's the main takeaway?
None of these absolute legends of the music industry, not Car the Garden, not Yoon Jong-shin, not Zion.T, or Kim Jong-won, started their creative process by sitting down at a mixing desk, hitting a piano key, or handing out sheet music.
Not a single one of them. Instead, they fed them massive amounts of food in trendy Hongdae studios.
They forced them to sit through literal PowerPoint lectures in sterile university halls.
They aggressively ambushed their messy apartments to judge their cheap AliExpress rugs.
They made them hike up mountains to remote Buddhist temples.
And they geeked out over 1966 Fender Telecasters in black shipping containers.
And we have to ask the ultimate so what question here. Why go through all of this elaborate, time-consuming trouble?
Why not just get into the studio and write?
Because, as we have thoroughly established over the course of this hour, they are functioning as psychological profilers. They are meticulously mining for the raw ore of the artist's true, unvarnished personality.
They desperately need to know if the artist sitting across from them is a terrified kid who requires the safety of a cool older brother, a highly diligent student who craves the structure of a master professor.
An unpretentious bargain hunter hiding behind a stage persona.
A fragile soul who needs the grounding of a mountain temple, or a rock aficionado who simply needs the validation of a peer.
And understanding all of that brings us right back to Yoon Jong-shin's PowerPoint slide deck. It brings us back to the ultimate secret ingredient of the music industry, luck.
Precisely. You fundamentally cannot manufacture luck. You cannot algorithmically force a viral moment to occur among drunk patrons in a rural pub.
But through this intense, empathetic, highly tailored, and sometimes borderline invasive psychological profiling, a producer can manufacture authenticity.
If a producer does their job correctly during these crucial first dates, they gather the necessary psychological data to craft a piece of music that perfectly, seamlessly matches the true unfiltered self of the artist.
Whether that true self is the Gasimbi king sitting on his cheap sofa, or the hyper-diligent student taking feverish notes in a lecture hall.
And the magic happens when the song perfectly matches the true self, because the public inevitably feels it. The public has an incredible, undeniable radar for authenticity.
They know when it's real.
And when they feel that realness, when they sense that an artist is bearing their actual soul, you connect with it. And that profound human connection, that is what creates the necessary environment for the lightning to strike. That is where the luck follows.
It is a beautiful, complex, and highly fragile architecture. The initial talent selection process that the industry and the audience focus so heavily on is genuinely just the starting line.
Getting the job, getting the record deal, getting your foot in the door for the meeting, that is just the prologue.
The real, arduous, terrifying work is found in the excavation of the self and the strategic, honest construction of an authentic presentation.
I want to connect this entire analysis back to you listening right now. Think about the trajectory of your own life, the drafts you have survived, getting the promotion, getting accepted into the elite program, finally landing that crucial first date that is just the beginning of the journey.
The real work is how you allow yourself to be seen in those new spaces.
It's how acutely you read the subtext of the rooms you walk into, how you interpret the physical cues of the people holding power over you, and whether you are brave enough to let your own Gasimbi quirks show through the polished armor you wear.
Are you spending all your energy trying to project a flawless, manufactured image, or are you actually allowing your authentic, messy duality to be seen?
Because if this deep dive into Korean reality television tells us anything, it is that the true legends of any industry aren't looking for perfection, they're looking for the truth.
That is the ultimate enduring takeaway. The truth is the only reliable foundation for a hit, whether you are writing a pop song, building a company, or navigating any human endeavor.
That perfectly wraps up our analysis for today. Thank you so much for spending this time with us, joining this deep dive into the hidden grammars of hit songs, the intricate sociology of reality TV chemistry, and the absolute art of the perfect first impression. Remember, for these artists on the show, the real work has only just begun.
The music is coming next. And now, having decoded the psychology of these meetings, you have the analytical tools to hear exactly what went into the foundational bedrock of those songs.
But before we let you go, we always like to leave you with a final, lingering, provocative thought to mull over in your own time.
We have spent an hour dissecting how physical spaces, environments, and even cheap furniture reveal our true selves to the world.
So I want you to look around you right now. Think about the physical space you currently occupy. Your apartment, your office cubicle, the inside of your car. If a legendary music producer suddenly kicked down your door, bypassed all your defenses, and ambushed you with the goal of writing the hit theme song of your life.
What hidden duality would they uncover?
What surprising, slightly embarrassing Gasimbi item is sitting in your personal sanctuary right now that completely contradicts the polished, capable public persona you present to your coworkers every day?
What is your AliExpress rug?
Find your rug, embrace your quirks, and keep observing the beautiful, unspoken subtext in your everyday life. Have a fantastic week, everyone.